It's been proven by mathematicians that hallucinations will always be there. There is no way to build an LLM, a large language model, that does not hallucinate.
The Weekly Friedman, your source for the most essential information in the default industry, with your host, Adam Friedman.
When you think about AI, law firms, and the news, you think about hallucinations. That's the big topic that pops up, most notably with cases where an attorney relies upon an LLM drafting their brief or their motion, and case citations pop in that are incorrect. The reality is it's a little more complicated than that. Not all hallucinations are exactly the same. I think it's important to recognize there are different types of hallucinations. And today I'm joined by Friedman Vartolo, Director of Applied Technology, Eyal, Leeder, to walk through the hallucination topic. So when you and I were discussing this recently, you mentioned not all hallucinations are the same.
When we think about hallucinations, the obvious thing that comes to mind is, oh, the AI came up with a case that doesn't exist. It cited a case that has never existed. There's no real evidence there. If you do a cursory dig into this, you'll find that it never existed. And this happens all the time. We see hundreds and hundreds of attorneys getting cited and penalized, and some of them even reported to the Bar Association based on this. And that's the basic hallucination. We call this fabricated authority. And this is probably the easiest one to protect against, because it's very easy to take a citation and see, hey, is this a real case? This actually happened. There are 4 other types of hallucinations that are harder to find, harder to identify, but are just as harmful, if not more. And this is what legal professionals need to be aware of. There's also distorted holding, there's temporal error, there's hallucination by agreement, and there's jurisdictional misattribution. And all of these are different types of hallucination that take different methods to identify and correct.
Do you foresee there being an easy way to solve this problem by getting a better API into a better source?
The interesting thing about hallucination in general, if we take a step back, is that it's been proven by mathematicians that hallucinations will always be there. There is no way to build an LLM, a large language model, that does not hallucinate. And so if you are aware of it and know this, you can build guardrails against it. You can give it, like you mentioned, an API into a data set that you trust and make sure it only utilizes that data set for information. I think the core understanding that we all need to have when working with AI systems is that if you didn't give the AI information, if you're just based on training data and whatever it found online, you should be very suspect of that.
I want to demystify this for a second, because I think that we're using these cool words, hallucination, temporal errors, fabricated authority, and we're making it sound like this is a more sophisticated, Star Trek-y computer problem than I think it actually is, right? And this is why I would say that, because you're saying LLMs will always hallucinate. You can't get rid of that. Well, that sounds scary. But you know what doesn't sound as scary? Human beings will always make errors. When one of my paralegals makes an error, I want to start saying they hallucinated. It sounds so much more sophisticated or dangerous or cool, right? But the reality of what we're talking about here is that an LLM is like a brain that a computer has. It has information, and sometimes it's going to take that information within its brain and make mistakes with it, just like a paralegal would, just like an attorney would. It thinks differently than we do, so the types of mistakes might be different, right? It's not intentionally lying to us. It's pulling info from different places and kind of spitting it out wrong.
You hit the nail on the head. The important thing is we need to understand how LLMs work, why hallucinations are an integral part of the LLM process.
So just like a paralegal is going to make a mistake and an attorney is going to make a mistake, an LLM will make a mistake. So you have to check it. So this feels like one of the easiest types of mistakes to correct by getting a compliance agent layer on top of the LLM hooked up to a few different case law sites. And you said, check the sites or the holding or the arguments used in this brief or the motion and cross-reference that with every other legal API, spit out to us anything where you think there's an error, and we'll review it. Or do you think this is so crazy, so significant that that agent layer is not going to work?
Some of the hallucination types we're going to talk about, yes, will be solved by that. LLMs don't have a knowledge base. They have a training knowledge, which is up till the moment that the training got cut off. LLMs are based mostly on prediction, on the next token predictability, which means they will come up with the next word based on what's the most probable word, sentence, paragraph. That's how we get hallucinations, because in the process that they're working through, they figured out, oh, the most probable next sentence is this case, even though it doesn't exist. And there is no loop that says to the LLM, hey, go back and make sure it's right. You need to build that. And that's what you were talking about. Now, if we're talking about some of these hallucinations, some of them are because of the user error, because the user's directing the LLM to a certain direction. You're not going to catch that with any kind of upper level layer, any kind of authority, any kind of legal research. So there's a lot of different ways LLMs can go wrong. We're going to talk about all of them. The main issue, the main thing that tricks people is that the LLM speaks so confidently about everything that it just sounds like, oh, they must be right. We're used to taking confidence and mistaking it for knowledge.
I think attorneys are getting more comfortable with, I wrote something, let me spit it through a legal case legislative site and see if my site...
Stay tuned to our channel for part 2 of this conversation coming soon.